Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Carter.
What's trending, Enrichers? Carter Wilcoxon, founder of CSI Financial Group here, with my co-host and former wealth advisor, Tim James, founder of
ChemicalFreeBody.com and your new health advisor. This is the show where we reveal the connection between physical and financial abundance.
Hey, Enrichers, Carter Wilcoxon here with my co-host, Tim James. Tim James, how are you doing today, bud?
Hey, man, I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to have this golf guy on today.
I know. It is. I'm so stoked. I can't even tell you how excited I am that my good dear friend Ted Purdy, PGA Tour winner, is on here with us today on the Health and Wealth Podcast to talk to the Enrichers, to be able to share some of his stories, some of the things that are happening in his life right now, where he's going, where he's been, the direction he's headed, and he wears multiple hats. I will tell you that much right now. It is a true honor, Ted, to have you on today. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the invite. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we start off, if you don't mind, Ted Purdy. Let's talk a little bit about, and maybe I'll give a little bit of the story. You know, we're fellow members at the same club. I met you right after, you were going through some of your, personal challenges and everything. And with the way things are going, you've got the big smile on your face. I know you're a lot happier than you when you that, year and a half ago or something like that, when I think when we first met, maybe 2 years now. But the backstory, I was trying to play in this group one day, and then I got paired with Ted Purdy. And I'm like, I don't know if this guy's a prima donna. So I'm like, well, he's in my group, but there's three of us. So I'm going to put my bag on the back of this other guy's cart because I'm not sure if he even wants me in his cart with him, right? I have no idea. I'm making an assumption about Ted Purdy. But he's not a PGA Tour player, right? By the way, that comes from an experience I had with Phil Mickelson, but that's another story for another time. So I'm like, I'm talking to the guy running the group that day, and he goes, "Hey man," he goes, "you don't want to be on the bag or have your bag on with that guy, with that other member." He's like, "Throw it on with Ted." I was like, "You sure?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "All right, cool." I mean, I wanted to ride with a professional golfer, of course. So I throw my bag on. By the time we get to the first hole, and Ted will talk a little bit about this later on, come to find out he's in the insurance business, and we have a lot of things in common, and we just like hit it off like from the beginning. So anyway, Ted, if you want to talk a little bit about from your perspective on all that stuff and how that happened.
Yeah, well, your listeners probably don't even know who I am.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I grew up on Moon Valley Country Club next to Karsten Solheim. So I am a Ping staff player, have been my whole life. I was the only 8-year-old in the 80s to have a full set of Ping I2s when it was taking, a year to get a set. And because I grew up on the golf course, the rest is history. I went down to the University of Arizona, got my finance degree. I'm in the Hall of Fame down at U of A for golf. When I was in college, I was competing against a guy at Stanford named Tiger Woods. I was able to take him down a couple of times in college, and I took him down on the PGA Tour as well. So my first year on the PGA Tour was 1999. I still actively play, but I tell everybody I'm one of the old fat guys now, and I'm only getting in about a dozen events a year. But because I have so much free time, a friend of mine has an insurance company, insurance business called the Monolith Group, and he asked me to help him out. And I'm a finance guy, and a finance degree, and so I went and got my licenses, and I'm a PGA Tour player and a licensed producer in the insurance world. So, but yeah, it's fun. I'm having a great time. It was great to meet Carter at Moon Valley Country Club, and here we are, 2 years later, and I'm on your podcast. Pretty cool.
I mean, who knew, right? Well,
Yeah.
so now he's modest, right? But let's be a little bit specific, and let's talk a little bit about what it was like coming down the stretch of winning your very first golf tournament at the Byron Nelson. Now, we're not talking about some offshoot PGA Tour event. We're talking about Lord Byron's events in Dallas, Texas. Why don't we talk a little bit about what that was like, your feelings and your emotions and, channeling, past successes from maybe college or when you were 8 years old with your own Ping I2s. Let's talk a little bit about what that was like for you.
Yeah. So it was the 2005 Byron Nelson. They called them the Fab Five. We're all playing. So it was Tiger, Ernie Els, Phil Mickelson, Retief Goosen, and Vijay Singh. They called those guys the Fab Five at the time, and all five of them were in the field. And I was in the third to last group on Sunday, so I was third from last and playing in twosomes, and I hit every green, every fairway. I shot 65, and ended up beating Vijay Singh and Sean O'Hare by a shot. But it was funny, like that week, I had listened to another, well, we didn't have podcasts back in that day. It was actually an audio tape of a guy named Mac Newton. And Mac said, he gave this analogy where they did a study with three groups of free throw shooters at the University of Michigan State University, where one group practiced free throws, the other group meditated and practiced free throws, and the third group just meditated about practicing free throws for a month. And at the end of the month, the group that hadn't shot a basketball at all and just thought about it improved their free throw shooting by 30%. The people that just practiced didn't get much better, and the people that meditated and shot got a little better. So I went into that week, I go, you know what? I'm just going to visualize, and I'm going to visualize the shots. I'm going to visualize my putts going in the hole. I'm not going to, so my thing was, I'm not going to take a practice swing. I'm not going to take a practice putting stroke. I'm just going to visualize, get up and hit. And I was amazing. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
And the other thing that I would get over, the other thing Mac Newton said, and that was, he says, tell yourself 1,000 times you like yourself. I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. So I would get over my putts, and normally when you're a professional, professional golfers or professional athletes, or if we don't do it right, we get up frustrated and we get
trying to be perfect, right?
Trying to be perfect, or you miss a putt and you get frustrated. So I just told myself, you know what? I like myself. I don't care if this putt goes in or not. And Max said that the guy who cares the least wins. So I just went into that week, not caring and telling myself I like myself and visualizing, and it turned out to be a winning formula for the week.
Now, go ahead, Tim. Maybe you got something you want to
I was just thinking it's kind of genius that you got your insurance license, because, you can literally, tee up, drive, and then go over and talk to people and start selling annuities. They're the perfect demographic.
Yeah. No, golf,
handing out cards.
Golf is the elevation of every occupation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hey, I'm good at golf, but I'm really good at helping people protect their money. Here's my card.
Yeah. That's right.
So, I do want to know, because I don't know if I've even asked you this, when we're hanging out and having some drinks or dinner or whatever, hanging out at Bobby D's, right? I don't even know if I ever asked you, what was it like and how much time did you get to spend with Lord Byron? I mean, and for those of podcast, enrichers, if you don't know who Byron Nelson is, he only has the most consecutive wins on the PGA Tour in history. 11 wins in a row. That's who we're talking about here. So, but I do want to know, and the enrichers, that's who we call we call our listeners. They want to hear, what was it like hanging out with Lord Byron, and how much time did you get to spend with him?
Yeah, so I was fortunate he was still alive, and because I was the third to last group, I finished about 45 minutes an hour before the leaders or the league group finished. So you sign your scorecard. We call him Lord Byron, had his big chair right on the 18th green, and him and Peggy were there in the right. And then I was invited to go sit with Byron, and I basically just sat on his armchair for 45 minutes. And, he was looking at the scoreboard and he goes, "Ted, you didn't have a bogey today." He goes, "I don't think I've ever played a round of golf without a bogey." And I'm like, "I'm sure you did, Byron." I'm sure you have lots of rounds without bogeys.
You probably have a round with no bogeys.
But then Peggy and I started, and Byron used to write letters to every champion on the PGA Tour. So if whoever won that week, the Sony Open winner, he'd write a letter to the Sony Open winner, and then the Waste Management winner. So everybody that won a golf tournament while Byron was alive got a handwritten congratulations note from Byron Nelson. And, and that's, I have that congratulations letter framed, and I think Tiger's framed all his from Byron. It's just a really cool thing that Byron used to do. And it got me in the habit of, whenever I wanted to appreciate somebody or something, or, good job, I write a lot of handwritten notes too. And it really means a lot to people. And so that was something that Byron kind of taught me. And the other thing is, he had me, because we got friendly, and he had me come speak at his charity Christmas dinner. And, I told stories about the PGA Tour, and we had a great friendship. I stayed at his house in Fort Worth. So just a great guy. And I was honored to have won the tournament, but also to have been able to spend a lot of time with him.
Yeah, that's obviously, envious would be an understatement for any PGA Tour, player. It's much like, being able to spend a little bit of time with Arnold Palmer, right? And right now, spending time with Jack Nicklaus, right? Because we know it's just a matter of time. Gary Player, right? These are icons, right? The big three, right? Back in the day. So it had to be almost, for me, I would think it's surreal. But you've been around that for so long. The first time you maybe even met Byron, but being able to spend that intimate time with him had to be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, he was the ultimate gentleman. He was a great Christian guy, and just an amazing guy, amazing for the sport. And he's just an amazing guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So, hey, Tim, do you have anything you want to kind of sort of chime in on and ask if there's anything? I know you're not necessarily really a golfer, but is there anything that you were thinking, I would ask a PGA Tour player, this maybe if I ever, maybe recreationally you've played golf or whatever. Anything you want to ask Ted?
Well, I would want to know what you've ever learned about nutrition, as far as using that as obviously as an added advantage, because usually when you're in sports, like I played baseball at a high level for 30 years, it was always like, if somebody said I could hit the ball harder, farther, I could, have a higher batting average or whatever, I'm like, I'm doing it.
Yeah. So
what was something that you actually was told as far as nutrition or health that actually produced results for you?
Yeah. So my trainer is a guy named Mac Newton in Phoenix, Arizona. Mac Newton's a 3-time world Taekwondo champion. He's in the World Martial Arts Hall of Fame. He has studios here in Phoenix, Arizona. He's got a Super Bowl ring when he was the trainer for the Cowboys in the 90s. And he has two or three World Series rings when he was the trainer for the Oakland A's in the 80s. So I got referred to Mac before I got on the PGA Tour. I was kind of struggling and I wasn't making much money. And I think I made 30 grand on playing golf before I met Mac. And I went in September. I remember went in September. It was hot. His room is 110 degrees when you work out. But the very next year I made $1.6 million. The next year I made $2 million. The next year I made $3 million. I mean, after getting in shape and doing he called it the 3-2 eating plan. And the 3-2 eating plan is basically there's 3 things you can eat: lean vegetables, fruit, and lean protein. Those are the 3 things you eat. 2 things you can drink: water and 100% fruit juices or vegetable juices. So he makes it super simple. If it's 100% juice, you can drink it, or water. And if it's lean meat and nothing processed and vegetables and fruit, you can eat it. So he made it super simple, and also wanted you to have he calls it the Big 5, a green vegetable with every meal. And he called the Big 5 broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, collard greens, and I forget the 5th. But but you had to have one of the green vegetables with every meal. And honestly, when I would just do his Mac diet, and like on the course, if I had access to, or I'd tell the club, I'd say, hey, can you put a couple hamburger patties in Ziplocs? And I'd be on the course and I'd eat a hamburger patty. And then I was in a playoff once at Harbortown against Stewart Sink, and it was late and it was a long day, and out of my bag I pulled a bag of broccoli, raw broccoli, literally. And I was eating raw broccoli on the golf course, and Gary McCord was giving me so much hell on the telecast. But yeah, I mean, I just had like carrots and broccoli and whatever, anything that was green and real and fresh in my bag. No power bars, no processed, things and stuff like that. So when I ate properly and when I worked out and did a lot of sweating, I made a lot of money. So they go hand in hand.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, brother. It really does make a lot of sense, because that plan eliminates a lot of processed foods, and it eliminates a lot of improper food combining that people are doing that's really destroying their gut health and that kind of stuff. And it simplifies it. It definitely simplifies it. So, yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break, guys. And when we get back, we'll get more into any other stories that Ted's got, and then maybe anything that he's doing now in the insurance business, or you can talk about, anything else that you have going on. We'll be right back.
Yeah, great.
If you build it, they will come. For most financial advisors, the subject of estate planning for their clients is relegated to a side activity, only to be left to disconnected third-party outsourcing. Rather than recognizing the opportunities it inherently provides, advisors very often view estate planning-related work as a time-consuming, unproductive process. Unfortunately, this kind of remiss and costly attitude is derived mostly from unquestioning acceptance of half-truths or even outright fiction. Another factor is simply the lack of relevant knowledge and a team of experts to partner with. Hello, I'm Carter Wilcoxon, CEO and founder of CSI Financial Group and architect of the Advisor Partner Platform. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to update you on how this one-of-a-kind and unprecedented process has changed the lives for so many. When we set out on this journey to connect advisors with clients, we never imagined that we would actually find out that clients or prospective clients needed advisors just as much. The knowledge that we have gained when making accessible our entire team approach has brought to the general public a seamless, cost-effective, and comprehensive way to have true peace of mind. Because of this, when our advisor partners use this collaborative effort, the reward for them at the end has been nothing short of life-changing. All too often we hear words like revolutionary, innovative, or turnkey when describing something to make it more than it is. And in this IMO world that we've been competing in, those are descriptions of empty promises that have given this industry an unenviable reputation. So, after almost 2 decades of being pigeonholed and forced to be part of a system that we didn't create, it was our true intention to recreate. CSI Financial Group is paving the way for what we now call ourselves, a practice development organization, or PDO. Our advisor partner platform is just the beginning of what we are building, and we are encouraging those who are wanting to truly transform their business and stand out from the rest to come learn more. When you partner with us, you'll get all the exclusive tools, resources, and processes needed to cement your ideal clients while creating professional contracts. We look forward to hearing from you and sharing more. Thank you.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim here with Carter. We've got Ted Purdy in the house, PGA Golf Tour winner and insurance agent, and he's wrangling up a whole lot of food to help feed people. So why don't we get into this? Do you want to talk, Ted, about the food bank first, or do you want to talk about let's do that.
It's an interesting story. There's a really great my dad's a good Christian guy, and his one of his best friends. So they, at the end of the year, they look at the top 10 Christian organizations that they can donate to at the end of the year. And number one was this food bank called Midwest Food Bank, based out of Bloomington, Illinois. But they had 7 locations around the country, and they have one in Haiti and one in Africa, a food bank. So Eric Sheldall, my dad's buddy, donates to Midwest Food Bank. The founder gets his, it was like a $5,000 check. So it wasn't a huge donation, but it was, wasn't chump change.
Yeah.
And the founder, David Keyser is his name. David calls Eric and says, "Thank you." And Eric's like, "I donate money all the time, and I never had a founder call me and thank me." But so they started talking. Well, the next year they look at the top 10, Christian charities, and number one again is this Midwest Food Bank, and it's based off their expense ratios and the money that the goods and services that they provide the community. He donates again. David Keyser calls him again, and he's just so impressed. He said, "You know what? How do we get a Midwest Food Bank to Phoenix, Arizona?" And David said, "You just do it." So my dad and Eric put a board together. They raised the initial funds. They bought a warehouse in Gilbert, Arizona, and they started bringing in food through the network of the Midwest Food Bank. And that happened just over 3 years ago. They came and last year they gave $20 million of food away. And this year we're going to give away, just in the Phoenix, Arizona, the whole state of Arizona we support, including the reservations. They're going to give over $60 million worth of food away this year. And during this pandemic, it's just phenomenal. But the story of me going to the food bank and helping out is they had lost their executive director. They needed help. And I had called my dad and Eric, and I said, "Hey, I want to buy a golf course called Coldwater in Phoenix. Will you guys, help me put up the dough to buy this golf course?" So they drive out and they meet me at the golf course, and they look at it and they go, "Yeah, this is great. We'll buy it. We'll help you buy it. But you know what? We need somebody to run the food bank for us. So if we're going to lose money running a golf course, we might as well just lose money hiring you to run the food bank." So it wasn't what I was intending to do. It wasn't what I wanted to do. So the first day I'm coming to the food bank kicking and screaming, like, what am I doing here? Like this, I don't know how to run a food bank. Like, really? So I get there and just fell in love from the first second I got there. The first patient I go load out the charities come every 15 minutes. They come through the warehouse. We fill their vehicles, their vans, their trucks, their cars, whatever they've got. We fill their cars up and vans up with food. And then 15 minutes later, there's another charity coming through. So I show up the first day, and every 15 minutes, I'm filling up these cars, and I'm asking these amazing people, what are they doing? And like the first lady says, well, I run a home for teenage mothers. So we basically are raising the mother and the baby, and we support them with food. And then the next guy comes up and he goes, well, I have a church inside the prison in Rocky Point, and I support I built this church inside the prison in Rocky Point, and I support them with food. So we filled up his trailer. Just every 15 minutes, there's somebody doing some great, amazing things for people. And I was just hooked. And I went home and woke up the next day, and I felt like I had a hangover. Like, I felt horrible. And I went to work, and then, the energy came back, and I felt great again. And I was talking to one of the guys who was a recovery guy who was volunteering at the food bank. And he says, yeah, he goes, Ted, serving is just like doing cocaine, just like doing drugs or alcohol. He goes, you get that high when you serve, and the next morning you feel burned out. So the only way you can get that high back is you got to go serve again. So I use that a lot. But so the recovery, that's, and that's why the recovery guys really, and gals, love to volunteer or are encouraged to volunteer, because it does lift your spirits and does make you feel good. So anyway, I was under a 6-month, I started in November of 19, and I had a 6-month contract until we found a proper executive director. And then COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, it was all hands on deck. I mean, the need for food was astronomical. And like, there was no food in the grocery stores. There was no toilet paper. I don't know if you remember the first few months of the pandemic, it was crazy. Well, the demand on the food bank was exponential. And we were trying to help so many people. We'd have distributions, and there would be 3-mile long lines of cars, one by one, coming through to get a couple boxes of food, when we do distributions. And there's the need's still there. This pandemic has really hurt people economically. So there's, we're still working hard to get through it. But it's been life-changing for me. They hired a proper executive director from Vanguard, a gal named Mara Lee. She came over from Vanguard. She's very successful, one of the leaders over there. And I think she was making, a good mid 6-figure salary. And now she's not at the food bank, but she's having more fun too. So it's just, it's been life-changing for me to be part of the food bank.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is the warehouse that I went that one time when I came in with, our network estate planning attorney, Sierra Lister, is that the same warehouse that they built originally or bought?
Yeah, they just bought that. Yeah, that's the same warehouse, same. During COVID, we were donated another 90,000 square foot warehouse that we filled to the brim in Central Phoenix. So because of the philanthropic people around Phoenix, we've been able to really serve the people for sure. It's been great.
Yeah.
The community's really kind of, the name really, why is it called Midwest? Well, it is, but when they realize what we're doing, the community's really, really supporting us. It's fun.
Yeah, it was funny whenever I remember when we went there that day. I'm like, well, Midwest, like I don't get it. But then they played that, it was like maybe a 10-minute, trailer or promo, whatever. And then it started in the Midwest, which is hence the name. And then 7 locations, I think you said, across the country.
Yeah. So now there's 9. We just opened one in Dallas and one in New York City, just outside of New York City in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So, and then we've got the 2, one in Haiti and one in Africa.
Wow.
But yeah, it's the Midwest Food Bank, and it's, it's just started by these 3 brothers in Bloomington. And you look at the good that they're doing. They're the largest food bank in the country right now. They're doing more pounds and more dollars worth of food than any other food bank. And they go, that's a God thing. Like, it's not because of anything we're doing. It's really an amazing place.
I think it's pretty. What I'm noticing from that is that from that personal touch, where that guy reached out, where the owner after the food bank reached out to your friend, that's what started. Like, hey, I really like this. If he wouldn't have reached out, maybe that would have never happened, and all those people would have been served.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as Byron writing the thank you card. I mean, it means a lot to get a little thank you call or a little thank you card.
You framed it.
Yeah, I framed it. Yeah.
you framed the darn thing. So
yeah.
I think for me, the takeaway is, and like I did that when I was back in the mortgage business because my coaches had me do it. I'm like, I was writing out thank you cards. It became kind of mechanical, but when you were doing it, I'd have my assistant put the thank you cards on my desk, and every day I was writing thank you cards out, 10 thank you cards to people. And I can't tell you how far that went. It's like, God, maybe I'm gonna get back into that. But what I do as a business owner is I reach out to my clients. I try to personally call 10 people a day, and it blows their mind. Blows their mind. So for those of you listening, whether you're a financial advisor, business owner, mom, dad, it doesn't really matter, man. It's like there's certain things that you can do that will lift it will lift your spirits up. And that's volunteering. Like when you went down to the food bank, there's just something about giving without any expectation for return. Creating, when you create things, like whether it's music or building a little, a wood structure or something, a little wood music box for your daughter, stuff like that creates it. And I also think like, writing letters or calling people for no reason, just to tell them thank you. It's that personal touch. And that's what's really missing today in the technology age. So if we can incorporate that in there, I think there's some real power in that, not just for the clients and building that client loyalty and that kind of stuff, but also for yourself spiritually, right? I mean, you feel good, right? You just told me you every time I don't know, give this food bank deal, and now it's like you can't wait to get there.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty cool. So anyway, those were my takeaways.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, whenever, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, anytime you're, serving people, that's absolutely what's going to help you feel much better about yourself. So, kudos to you, and that was awesome. And I remember at first you told me you were going to be working at the food bank. I'm like, wait a second, my buddy Teddy's going to be. By the way, Teddy Bear, that's his nickname. My son started calling him that as soon as he met him. Who, by the way, talk about someone who has no idea who Ted Purdy is. That's a 13-year-old kid, right? He doesn't know anything. When we told Carter Samuel that, well, you understand, like this is a big, like he's a PGA Tour winner. Like you have aspirations. You're out there, you're grinding it. And just to tell a quick story, I remember the very first time you met Carter Samuel, and you can talk a little bit about your I want to call it a gadget, but the grip.
Purdy grip.
Grip, right? And that was like number one at the PGA Tour merchandise show at one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Carter Samuel, actually, coach comes in. He brings one of those in, and I'm like, "What is that?" And you tell me all about it, and I'm like, "Wrap it up. I'll buy it right now." So I give him the money. Ted, talking about a servant mentality. this is the middle of summer, right? In Phoenix, Arizona. We just got through playing golf. We've had, maybe a couple beers at the in the clubhouse. He takes Carter Samuel out to the range and shows him how to use it. It was like he was gone for like an hour. So
Yeah.
that was that was amazing. But that's kind of heart that Ted Purdy has. But hey, if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about how you serve your clients, and let's talk a little bit about Monolith Group and maybe how that got started, and who it is that your ideal client is, and what you're trying to do to help serve people in that financial solution.
Yeah. So I went to Brophy Prep here in Phoenix, Arizona, all boys prep school, and senior year economics was taught by a guy named our teacher was amazing. He was a bond trader, Ray Zimmerman. He was a retired bond trader from New York, moves to Arizona, wants to give back. So he goes to Brophy and says, "Hey, I'll be your senior economics teacher, and I won't take a salary." So we were the seniors at Brophy, while Ray was there, we're getting this bond trader, economic genius, teaching us about economics, and how Alan Greenspan was the most powerful man on the planet. And, we had to read the Wall Street Journal every morning. And so anyway, in my class, my classmate was a guy named John Gazowski. Well, John Gazowski, but Ray got us so excited about economics and finance that, I went and got my finance degree, and half of the guys that, graduated our class are in the finance world, and just because of this one teacher. But John was a bond trader in Chicago. Well, he patented a process where a high net worth individual can purchase life insurance and never write a check for it. And he does it by creating a bond, going to the bond market and raising the money through the capital markets to purchase life insurance for an individual. So it's a brilliant, amazing product. You obviously have to be super high net worth. There has to be a super high need for life insurance. But when I was introduced, John's now based out of Fort Worth, and when I was in Fort Worth playing the Colonial, John, I went to dinner with John. He says, "Hey, why don't you come work? I'm hiring. Why don't you come work for me?" And I said, "Well," and I just love John and I love his product, and so I went to work for John, and because it's such a niche product, and there aren't a ton of sales, so I can work at the food bank, and I can still play golf and also help John with the Monolith Group product. So it is a perfect fit for me. I love it because I'm a finance guy, and it's an ingenious patented process that he invented. And I'm just blessed to be a part of the Monolith Group.
Awesome,
well.
man. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I want to get into more about that product. I'm interested in hearing more about it, and all the other stuff that you're doing with the Monolith Group. We'll be right back.
You want the absolute best for yourself, and you want it to be easy. That's why we created Green 85. It helps with detoxifying the body gently. We're proud it's chemical-free, unlike almost all other supplements you'll find. Bottom line, Green 85 will get you healthier. We look forward to hearing what Green 85 did for you.
To get this product and our other amazing products, go to chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com. Hey, Enrichers, it's Tim, and Tim, and what's your name? Oh, Carter. That's right. We got Carter here. It's my buddy Carter.
I know.
And
It's more like your co-host is like Ted Purdy today. I'm just sitting over kind of being quiet today.
yeah, Ted's given us some. I mean, there's some gems here, like just what we were talking about the the handwritten letters and personal phone calls, and the millions of people that you can literally change lives just by a phone call. Like it's amazing, and that's just. I mean, I'm just sitting there thinking about like some little kid that gets to eat a meal because of that phone call, right?
Yeah, that phone call. We're literally feeding 500,000 people a month.
Yeah,
because of that phone call.
That's pretty powerful.
Just in Phoenix, yeah. I mean,
and that's awesome. That's awesome. That's that feel good stuff that we really live for. Mm-hmm. So you were talking about the Monolith Group. You've got this specialized product. It's very niche-y for high net worth individuals where they can get a ton of life insurance and never write a check. So can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So John Gazowski was the inventor of it. He in the insurance world, there's a product called premium financing. Premium financing is when a high net worth individual who has a huge estate problem, they need life insurance to solve that problem. And what they would do is, but those big policies, if it's a $20 or $30 million policy to pay life insurance, those premiums could be $1 million a year. So a lot of high net worth individuals are like, I need that for my estate, but I don't really want to stroke the check for $1 million every year for 10 years, So instead of doing it, writing a check for it out of their own pocket for that $1 million a year, they would go to the bank and it's called premium financing. They literally get a loan from the bank, just like they get a loan to buy a house. But what they're using the loan money from the bank is to pay the premiums. So, our high net worth individual now has it's $1 million a year for 10 years. So now that high net worth individual has a $10 million loan paying his life insurance, but he has to pay interest and principal on that loan, and he has to make sure his and the interest rates are variable and higher at the bank. And so John had his partner was a life insurance, premium finance life insurance guy, came to John and said, John, the bank rates are way too high. What are bond rates right now? And he says, well, I'm borrowing at the bank from 6%, and the 7-day lower floater, it's called the 7-day LIBOR, is at 1%. And John's like, well, I build bonds every day at 1%. So Mike's like, well, why don't we make a bond to pay for life insurance instead of going to the bank and getting a 6% loan? And John Gazowski, my buddy, says, well, it's never been done before. How do I even do that? So in 2004, he went and got a process patent. He figured out how to build a bond and sell that into the marketplace and use the proceeds to pay the life insurance instead of having to go to the bank. And so these high net worth individual clients, that $10 million bond is at 1% interest versus a loan at a bank at 5 or 6 or 7% per se. So John just patented the process of being able to borrow, essentially borrow money at at the lowest rate possible to solve the high net worth individual's estate tax problems. That's it's also used for life insurance. Also used for other things as well, buy-sell agreements and for younger clients for future cash payments or retirement cash payment outlays and things like that. So it's just a genius product. I'm very fortunate to have been taught by Ray Zimmerman, and John Gazowski was in my class, and I'm riding his coattails. And so my role basically is when the Monolith Group gets a call, and a broker wants to sell the Monolith Pro. They got a perfect client for the program, but the insurance agent, the producer, doesn't have enough knowledge of the product to be able to pitch it to their client, or to where their client will understand it and have to walk through. So I'll get a call from John and say, hey, next week, Thursday, can you be in Seattle and meet with this client and the insurance producer and his attorney? I said, sure. So, and if my schedule's free, which it normally is, I'll get on a flight, go to Seattle for the day, and then get back on, come home. So that's kind of my role for Monolith is, I just basically help the attorneys and the clients and the insurance agents understand the product, and hopefully we can close the deal and get them to go with the Monolith Group.
That's awesome. Carter, we got to make sure we put his contact information in the show description, the show notes down below. So if those of you advisors out there that would like to talk to Ted about this, I think it's it's a niche deal, but it could come in handy, and then he'll come see you, and maybe you can get around to golf with him.
Yeah,
that's right.
Interestingly enough, I remember whenever Ted started talking to me about it, and they've talked to other different distribution arms like us, and as far as contact goes, we can give Ted's contact, but they can also contact me because we've partnered up to be able to bring this to our advisor network.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it's something that we don't provide. And that's why I wanted, Ted to talk about the Monolith Group today, to let everybody know that is another resource that we have. Now, obviously, again, these are ultra high net worth clients that we're talking about, right? These are professional athletes in a lot of situations, or, multi-conglomerate, high, I would say high earning individuals, but a lot of times, they're business owners, or they're well-established individuals that are, worth 30, 50, 70, $100 million.
Yeah. The minimum client we say is net worth of $10 million and income of $350,000 a year would be kind of the bottom of the ability of the program to work, because the individual needs to have a need for life insurance so that the carrier will approve the big policy, and the smallest bond we can sell in a marketplace is $5 million. So it'd have to be premium of at least $500,000 a year for 10 years.
And then of course, you touch on a little bit, even with the younger generation, this thing we call life insurance. A lot of people, they think about it as like just death insurance, right? It is self-completing, but what a lot of people don't know is that you can get tax-free income from your life insurance, and that's really the big thing. When you show the illustration, when you came in here and I signed the NDA and everything, you're showing how much free income that you can get from it, basically, as well, that becomes completing when the inevitable happens for all of us.
Yeah, the younger the client, the more opportunity to get tax-free income when they're in their retirement, their older years.
Yeah, for sure. So, enrichers, listen up. If you're a financial advisor, insurance agent out there right now, and you really wish you had a very unique differentiator for ultra high net worth individuals, we can be your solution, no doubt about it. Right, Ted?
Absolutely. Yeah. Now we partnered with CSI, and we're grateful for all the stuff they do for us.
Yeah. So, hey, let's talk a little bit. We've talked almost 7/8 of this. I know we got a little bit more time here. And Richards, thank you for staying on all the way through all 3 segments. I know that Ted Purdy was very gracious with his time today. He's super busy. Obviously, I know he's out there grinding in his backyard in the short game area at Moon Valley Country Club, getting ready for the next event.
But our moonwalk's playing good right now.
Moonwalk is fantastic. Absolutely. So, let's talk a little bit about, more of the health things that can, maybe give more insight and benefit for those out there. And I know that Tim, you talk a lot about like your 4 core things or whatever, but let's talk a little bit about things, some takeaways for those who are listening that they can do and continue to incorporate. Mac Newton, right? You said
Mac, yeah.
Drinking water. Let's talk a little bit about the water solution that is really key. And here I am. I got my juice, right? I'm on a cleanse right now, so I got my juice, but I got my
when are you gonna get a glass bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Plastic's not good, right?
Hey, as soon as you send me one. You would think I had one of those moonshine bottles being from Arkansas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the kind of water that people need to drink also, not necessarily the tap water and how that can be able to benefit their energy level and get that flowing.
Well, a lot of it is that the water is just polluted today. I think we've talked about it a little bit on a previous episode, but with Ted being here, we'll talk about water. You brought it up. So water's polluted today. Again, you can go 1,500 miles into the interior. You can see the little 2 and 2.5 inch fish today have both male and female organs. Well, why is that? Well, it's because of the estrogen mimickers from plastics, Carter.
Oh, that's why.
Plastics. So if you want man boobs, you want cervical issues, cervical cysts, breast cancer, prostate issues, throwing off your hormones, your thyroid, and all that stuff. These microscopic no-seum plastics have infiltrated into our ecosystem today, right? Same thing, like if you're wearing, because I remember like when I was playing baseball, we were with those cotton shirts and you get all sweaty and you have to change them, or football and stuff. And then they came out with Nike Dry Fit and it was like, and then Under Armour stuff. It's like, it just kept wicking the moisture away. And it was light and you could wear it. It was awesome. The problem is those are made from polyesters. And now I know that polyester comes from crude oil and it takes like 3,000 chemicals to make these things. So again, you're adorning your body, your largest organ, your skin, with plastic. And then the plastic, these shirts and underwear and bras and stuff, lycra bras, that are off-gassing these plastics. So why am I getting into this? We're talking about water because it's important. It's in the freaking water day. And then every time you wash your, Under Armour deal or Dry Fit thing like I used to do, there's these microplastics that come off of it and they go out into the ecosystem, right? So it's a buildup. It's been building up. So that's why we have to make sure that our water is purified. That's number one. The second thing is that you have to make sure the water is restructured. And the reason why is because in these high pressure pipes, for those of you listening that are on city tap water, I used to do construction work back when I was, 18, early 20s. And, water's under super high pressure pipes. Like I saw some break and it's like, it's like, it'll knock you out. It'll knock you completely out. I mean, it could kill you. It's so much pressure in the bigger pipes. So, it takes these water molecules and it kind of globs them together. So instead of being like 4 or 5 clusters, they're in 20 to 25 clusters. And what's the deal? Well, when you drink it, it goes into your intestinal tract. And that's where those little clusters are supposed to be able to go through the intestinal lining, which would be like a chain link fence. But the problem is they're the size of a bowling ball. They're too big, so they bounce off. So you want them to be restructured so that they can go through the intestinal lining, get into the bloodstream, get into the cell, and get into the lymphatic system, which is our garbage removal system. So that these other toxins that we've been breathing in and stuff like that can then start getting pushed out by the body naturally through that natural detoxification system called the lymph system or the lymphatic system. So this is like really, really important stuff. Water is like one of the most, it's foundational. The first thing is air and then water. So if you can change your water, you can literally change your life. You can change your energy levels. You can start helping yourself to push out these toxins. And a good rule of thumb is just drinking about half of your body weight in liquid ounces daily of this purified, restructured water. And if you're a high-level athlete or you live in a very arid climate like you guys do where it's very hot, you might need a little bit more than that. But I like Mac Newton's idea of like you just drink a lot of water or 100% juice. I would just be, that's a good thing because it gives somebody some leeway there. They can have a little juice once in a while. You just want to be very careful that it's, because one thing that happens if you're just drinking tons and tons of juice and you're not out hustling and moving, that's a lot of calories and that could lead to weight gain and especially if other issues like if you have arthritis or cancer or problems like that. Too much sugar is like throwing gasoline on a bonfire as far as health goes. It's very acid. So just make sure you get that water in there first.
Nice. Awesome. That's those are obviously great takeaways. Ted Purdy, you've got, my co-host Tim James here. Is there anything additionally that, health-wise or whatever? Obviously Mac Newton's got y'all, squared away, got some structure yourself. Is there anything from his perspective as a health coach that you want to ask him, and then we'll let our enrichers get going. And obviously, thank you very much for being on here again today.
Yeah, I think I know the answer to this. What do you think of like the sports drinks and the guys on tour putting those packets of crap in their water? And what do you think about all that?
Well, I'll give you an example. If you're talking about like Gatorade
or
sports drink. We'll just take Gatorade as an example. Well, I knew back even when I was before I was a financial advisor, when I was in the mortgage industry, I had a client and his job was he owned a bottling company. So people don't realize this, but like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Gatorade and Red Bulls and that kind of stuff, they don't bottle that stuff somewhere and then just send it all over the place. They send the raw materials to local bottling places, and the bottling places make it. So this guy had purchased the biggest expense in his entire business. He had these big steel vats, and at the bottom of these vats are these gears that spin and turn the ingredients to mix it to go to bottle. And he said his biggest expense was replacing those gears. Why would you need to replace the gears? Because the acid in the products would eat them up. They'd go away. So think about this. Number one, what the hell are we drinking that's going to eat a massive, big, huge metal gear, right? And he said the worst of the worst. He goes, what do you think? He goes, what do you think's worse? He goes, do you think it's Gatorade? Do you think it's the Red Bulls? Or do you think it's it was like some other energy drink he mentioned or something like that? And I was like, I don't know. And I said like the energy drink probably. And he's like, the Red Bull. And he's like, no, it's the Gatorade. The Gatorade eats the shit out of those gears. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I would go play baseball and I'm getting my red Gatorade and my green one. Those are the two flavors that I liked. I stopped drinking that shit immediately after he told me that. Cause I'm like, if it's eating the gears of a metal deal, what's it doing to my guts? And then the metal that it's eating is getting blended into that stuff. And then I'm eating it. So I'm like, I'm out of there. Now, your other point, those packets, it all depends on the ingredients. Somebody could actually do this because it was like one of my goals like 5 years ago when I was talking to our formulator, Dr. Treadwise, like we could make like a little packets. We could have a sugar alternative. We could do like a sports drink type thing. And I actually have a client right now that just came out with an energy drink that we helped formulate for them. And it tastes delicious. And you freaking get, I mean, it's awesome. They're just about done with it. I have the samples and I'm like, I'm adding it into my regimen because it's like,
better ship me some.
Dude, it's like our Green 85 product. Like this is the one, Ted, this is our number one seller, our green. So this replaces the 85% of the stuff in the soil. But this energy drink deal that this guy's got, he's got the right ingredients because they're actually from nature, right? It doesn't have any of these synthetics and these chemicals and these weird things. And some things are banned on the EPA's, or they're on the EPA's list of toxins, but they're in sports drinks and in supplements and drinks and stuff like that. So, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't touch that stuff with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Wow,
I learned a lot. That was good.
By the way, you've completely changed. You're going to wreck Carter Samuel, just so you know, after you just got through saying that. Carter Samuel's favorite drink is G2, right? Oh, well, it's sugar-free. So, we're probably not going to be able to buy Gatorade anymore for my son. So I'll say, hey.
Gatorade, Gatorade it should stand for gut acid because that's what it does, man. It's just going to eat your guts away and your ears.
That's great.
I mean, here's another one, guys. Like, if you go to an auto body shop, anybody go check this. Go to an auto body shop, and a lot of auto body shops are using like Coca-Cola and Pepsi to remove like pitch off of trees and stuff like that off of cars. Like this is what they do to clean cars. Because it's acid. It just eats stuff, and we're drinking that. So I think that's why Ted had so much results with Mac Newton's program, because it's not so much of what he was eating, it's what he wasn't eating. The standard American diet is so bad that when you get off of it at all, your life's going to improve. And I really like what he shared. I think that's really good. We like to take things to another level. We go to raw and even living foods. So sprouting and sprouted nuts and seeds and grains and beans, because you need living foods for a living body. And then you can have energy like me, like a chipmunk. And, but have your nerves be very calm when you're doing that final putt on the 18th green.
That's right.
Yeah. The 3-footer left to right downhill.
Yeah. The energy without the shakes. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's great stuff. Well, hey, Enrichers, thank you so much for joining us today for this special podcast. My dear friend, Ted, PGA Tour winner. Thank you so much for joining us today to be on here and sharing so much insightful information about your backstory and where you're at today. And again, my co-host, Tim James, I want to thank both of you guys so much for the time today.
Yeah, and if you guys, I appreciate it, Carter. If you guys like this episode, please give us a like, share the episode, leave us a note. If you have questions or comments, we really appreciate that, and we really thank you for liking and sharing and doing all that good stuff.
Yeah, and by the way, Enrichers, if you're listening to this, you probably have downloaded our episodes. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Nice and easy to be able to find us out there. The Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim. Thank you guys all for joining us today. Thank you, Enricher, so much. Ted Purdy, again, so gracious of his time and being able to come on and tell us all the great things that's going on with his life right now.
Thanks, guys. That was fun. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Enrichers. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Wilcoxon.
And I'm your host, Tim James. And by God, we are committed to helping you guys have fat wallets, flat bellies. So tune in again for another episode, and make sure to like, share, and drink a lot of water.
Or beer.
You have just listened to the Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim.